Hey everybody, I'm Bede, aka the Terrible Australian of Supermarcy.com, and this is the third edition of my 2015 MIFF video reviews. For this one, I will be reviewing the horror comedy He Never Died, and as well as the indie sex comedy The Overnight. So let's get right into it. And as I stated in previous videos of my MIFF videos, I'll be reading the synopsises from this year's MIFF program. So that way I don't butcher them, trying to explain them without it. So let's get right into it. And first up, of course, is He Never Died. Do you want to live forever? The blessing is a curse for Jack. His crappy apartment has become his crypt, and the boredom only makes him more disdainful of the mortal world. After centuries of the same, trouble comes calling again. Punk legend Henry Rollins shines in his first lead film role as the eternally fatigued but frighteningly powerful Jack. How will he figure, with lifetimes of experience, deal with the arrival of his estranged teenage daughter, violent thugs, and the promise of what could be love? I actually heard about this film a while ago on a podcast, so once I sort of heard the premise of this one and the fact that Henry Rollins is the lead character in this film, I thought, okay, it has my attention, and also the title is really cool, and it grabs your, He Never Died. When you hear a title like that, it just grabs your attention right away, and it makes you interested in what that film is, what the film is about. So when I heard this was playing at MIFF, I knew I had to check it out for sure, and I have to say, I really enjoyed this one a lot. It's not perfect, but at the same time, I think it's a pretty solid, really entertaining, horror comedy. This is a film that sort of strikes that balance between the two. It's not a scary film, but the film does a really good job at sort of balancing sort of the humor, which is really funny and quite hilarious at times, with the sort of the darker aspects of the story. And it's pretty well written. There are some aspects of the plot that are a little bit muddled, especially towards sort of the third act of the film. But they didn't really bother me too much. But for me, the key thing that really made this film for me was, of course, Henry Rollins. He is fantastic in this film. Definitely one of my favorite performances of the year. It's such a great deadpan performance from him that he's just gets under the skin of this character and just knows how to make this character so memorable and believable. And what's great though is he has a lot of really hilarious moments, but at the same time you believe the sort of the more frightening aspects of his character as well. Henry Rollins, because let's admit it, Henry Rollins is a pretty intimidating dude. So you know for a fact that that sort of intimidation of his, his personality is going to reflect really well in the character of Jack. But at the same time, he sort of brings a lot of deadpan humor to the role as well. That's just pretty hilarious. And also the supporting cast are all really solid. I thought they all brought a lot to their roles. And what I really liked about it is, besides having sort of a horror and comedy, there's also sort of a little bit of action element to it as well, and a bit of a noir aspect to it as well. And also the sound design I thought in this film was really good, and the score pretty well done. It's pretty well written, and also sort of the revelations when you sort of find out more about the character of Jack, I thought were pretty interesting. But that being said though, I think I probably would have enjoyed this film a little bit more if it wasn't for the actual screening I saw it at. And I should explain, when I went and saw the screening for this one, my screening for this film had problems with the audio. The sort of the background sounds and music and all that was really loud, but the sort of the dialogue felt really muffled and low. I think somebody on Twitter the other day sort of mentioned it sounded like the characters were talking underwater. That's not to say it didn't ruin the film for me, but it did get quite distracting sometimes, especially when the music and all that was getting really big and overbearing, that sometimes you couldn't make out what some of the dialogue was saying. It did the audio for the dialogue did get a little bit better as the film go on, but like I said, it did have some problems during some of the bigger moments in the film, and that regard kind of sullied the viewing of this film for me, but that's not to say it ruined it at all. I thought it was just a really enjoyable, really fun horror comedy. Like I said, it's not perfect. There are some aspects with with the script I kind of wish that the filmmakers went a little bit further with, and like I said, some of the plot did get a bit muddled as it sort of went on, mostly in the sort of the third act. But overall, this one was a pretty pleasant surprise. I really enjoyed it a lot, and it definitely what makes it work. But even though there's a lot of really good things around it on a technical level and writing and all that, it's really the sort of the performance of Henry Rollins that sort of sealed the deal for me in this film. He's fantastic, and it's definitely worth just checking out for him as well. But like I said, the film itself is really good and really fun as well. And I actually just found out, like doing a bit of research about this film, is that we'll be seeing more of this character very soon, because the writer-director of this film, Jason Croswig, I butchered his name, I'm really sorry. He's also making a follow-up miniseries with this character that I think they're currently working on at the moment. So we'll definitely be seeing more of this character very soon, and hopefully the film will get released before then. So, but I definitely recommend He Never Died. It's a really fun and really entertaining horror comedy. So if I had to give, with a great performance by Henry Rollins. So if I had to rate this film, I give it a 3.5. Like I said, that seems kind of low after sort of, me praising it. But like I said, it was what kind of sullied it was, of course, the viewing experience of this film. But I think if I see this film again, my rating will probably go up. So until then, at the moment it's 3.5. Now on to my next film, which is the indie sex comedy, The Overnight. And this one, and the synopsis for this one is, it's awkward making friends as an adult when newly transplanted Seattleites, Alex, Adam Scott, and Emily, Taylor Schilling, head to an LA playground with their son. It's hard to know what to make of a dinner invite from Kurt, Jason Schwartzman. What begins as an evening play date for the kids takes an odd turn when 30-something sexual desires and insecurities bubble to the surface. Now, again, this is another one that I heard about when it premiered at Sundance, and when I heard a lot of really good things about it, and I thought, okay, this was definitely on my ones to check out list. But what made me really want to see this film is that this film was written and directed by Patrick Bryce, who actually wrote and directed a film I actually saw last year at the festival, which was the sort of found footage horror comedy Creep, which I actually really liked Creep a lot, and coincidentally it's now playing on Netflix, so if you have it, definitely check it out, it's worth a watch. So I was definitely interested to see what he would come up next. So when I heard that he wrote and directed this film, I definitely I definitely knew I had to check it out. And I have to say, I really enjoyed this one as well. I thought this was a really funny, really entertaining comedy about sex and relationships, but at the same time, it's a film that also wants to delve into like those aspects, like us as adults, how we feel about sex and our desires and insecurities, but also particularly male insecurities as well, and also relationships. And I thought the film did sort of tackle those sort of themes really well in a way that's both entertaining and really funny. And also, what I really liked is the sort of the unpredictable nature of the story. I'm kind of sitting there watching this film, and I'm sort of thinking, like, where's the story going to go? Like, you kind of have an idea where it's going to be, but then sort of like the film sort of takes a bit of a turn every now and again, and you see things that you wouldn't expect. And there's one thing in particular I think a lot of people are going to be really surprised about, but you'll know what I mean when you see it because it's in spoiler territory. But I assume some people will probably find about it anyway. It's the one aspect of the film that's getting talked about the most, but you'll know what I mean when you see the film. But I thought all the cast did a really good job. I thought everyone just sort of gave it their all with their performances, and some even sort of were very raw with their performances, but at the same time were pretty hilarious as well. Like Adam Scott and Taylor Schilling, Jason Schwartzman, and another actress's name who played Jason Schwartzman's character's wife. I can't think of her name at the moment. She's a French actress, and I thought she did a really good job as well. And I just thought it was just a really good, really entertaining, sort of very adult. Not adult as in like the sex or anything like that. Adult is that this is a comedy made for adults, but at the same time there is sort of like at the same time it is a sex comedy, so it is about sex, and there's going to be sort of like a bit of some more refined kind of toilet humor in there. But I'm not to say that it's like Farrelly Brothers or John Waters type of toilet humor, but it's a bit more refined and a bit more classy. But at the same time, there's a point to it, and that actually makes it the film even more interesting and engaging as a comedy. But but at the same time, Patrick Bryce just did a really wonderful job with his direction. It's a really well written script, and he makes these characters very well rounded and really interesting, and he knows how to. And of course, he's really good at sort of like that sort of cringeworthy humor, and sort of as well. So there are things that happen in this film you cringe, but at the same time you can't help but laugh. He did that effectively with Creep as well, so he does it even more so in this one. So overall, I really enjoyed the Overnight. It's definitely a crowd pleaser. My audience really enjoyed it as well. And I mean, if you're looking for a sort of a comedy that's not sort of tailored for teenagers or anything like that, you're looking for something that's a bit more grown up, I definitely would recommend this film. It's a really good film, great cast, great writing and directing, and really interesting things to say as well. And so overall, The Overnight, highly recommended. If I had to rate this film, I give it 4 out of 5. And I definitely, if it's out wherever you are, definitely go see it. It's definitely worth it. So that's the end of my 3rd edition of my MIFF video reviews. I hope you all enjoyed it, and keep a lookout very soon for my 4th edition, in which I'll be reviewing the horror film Goodnight Mommy, and as well as the documentary Finders Keepers. So keep a lookout for that one, and I'll see you guys all later. See you, everyone. Bye.